Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 88, recorded on April 3rd, 2020 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the news.
Wow, we got quite a bit of news this week. So let's start with Zoho Projects. They get a new and improved Gantt view, and it's pretty slick. I took a look at it. Gantt charts are very nice if you work in projects. They basically give you an overall timeline view, kind of say, here's all the dates that everything's due. Is it overdue? Are you on track? And you can kind of visualize your entire calendar, if you will, and see where your project is. And I didn't think the Gantt charts were actually particularly bad in Zoho projects to begin with, but it's kind of a nice new interface that they put in here, and they've given you a few different options that you didn't have before.
Yeah, so inside of the Gantt charts, basically what they've added is first you're able to actually define a task on the Gantt chart that is unscheduled. So previously, if you didn't have a task with a start and end date, it couldn't show up anywhere on the Gantt chart interface, right? Where now you can actually have it show up even if it isn't scheduled, which is nice because though, of course, ideally, right, you'd like to have everything scheduled in advance, but sometimes you may just not know exactly when you're going to start a certain component of a project. But you don't want it to not show up, right, in the primary place that you're going to look at to manage project timelines, which is that Gantt chart. So it's definitely nice to be able to have those still show up here. One of the other steps or options that they have is basically being able to track specific tasks and their dependent activities, right? So you're able to kind of to provide a new view for these in-focus tasks, right? Where you can kind of focus on the tasks with dependencies to make sure that you don't have like a cascading issue, right? If you don't make a certain task by a deadline, right? That could cause issues downstream for dependent tasks. A couple others in here are basically a couple new views around setting up the taskbars inside of the chart. So you've got a little bit more customization on what exactly shows up in each of those tasks that's on the Gantt chart. And then last but not least, they've added an undo button, right? So
This
if you
is
make any mistakes looking
hysterical.
at the Gantt chart, yeah, it's pretty funny
It's
that
my,
this is a new thing. But basically now
I
you're
mean,
able to undo an edit that you make at a Gantt chart level.
yeah, this was painful. You could not undo it. You actually set it up. You were stuck. So this is kind of, you had to delete. I think undoing is a much better option for this all the way around. But at the end of the day, nice, and it's cleaner. I think it's a lot crisper look, don't you?
Yeah, they kind of casually mentioned down at the bottom there that they did provide kind of just a new UI overall to kind of accompany a lot of these updates. And with a lot of people using it to work remote, definitely a nice time to be making some improvements.
Yeah, and then our next update is Zoho Creator. This is kind of interesting. Normally, we get kind of these roundup of updates after they've come out, but in this case, they're giving us 5 updates that will be coming out in April 2020. I have to say, the one that really jumped out at me here is the JavaScript support. This was kind of promised all the way back in April of last year. So now we're seeing it here. And then some nice things in analytics. I imagine that probably was a big one for you.
Yeah, so basically the way that they're doing the analytics piece here is that they're basically expanding the analytics that are inside of Creator. So it's not quite based on the connection into analytics, right? But they're basically expanding what you can do for reporting inside of Creator itself, which is actually really nice because though, clearly you'd want to be able to pull a Creator app into Zoho Analytics and do your reporting there. One of the functions of Creator is actually making these little pages, right? You can bring in buttons and info from records and all these different sources. So being able to expand the reporting that you can do and then being able to embed those reports on the pages is a really nice little update. And yeah, then the JavaScript, I mean, that's a pretty big one, just given that it's such a widely known language, right? And you'd have to imagine there's a lot of companies who may be using Zoho and have strayed away from Creator because, to get it really working well, you've got to use a decent amount of programming and scripting. But being able to do that with Java, right, which you're more likely to have someone at your company who knows Java than someone who knows Deluge, right, which is Zoho's scripting language. So it kind of opens a door for more people to be able to tap in and put Creator to work.
Now, custom functions, I know we still write them in Deluge. They had said, though, you could write them in Java a year ago. Is that possible yet?
So when you're talking about the creator, it never was. Inside of the
Not in
CRM, they
Creator,
did.
over on the CRM side I'm talking about, yeah?
Yeah, so they've been rolling those out inside of the CRM. I mean, we've been sticking to Deluge just because for our purposes, right, it gets the job done, and it's what we're most comfortable using, being kind of a Zoho house. But yeah, they rolled it out for the CRM a little while back, maybe a couple months back.
Nice, nice. All right, let us talk about the Zoho Marketplace. This is a big one. They usually give us these lists of new applications that were added to the Zoho Marketplace. We're now up to 44 applications. And I don't know how much of this has to do with Catalyst and Sigma and all of the other things on the platform, but a whole lot, a bunch for Zoho Sites, 9 different applications for Zoho Sites. Some of them just bringing in Zoho applications, but others not. So MailChimp, a lot for Zoho CRM as well, some WhatsApp integration, but new Ring Central video. If you're not familiar with that, that's GoToMeeting that Ring Central offers. Uh, the Twilio SMS extension for Zoho CRM, that seems to have been around forever. Maybe this is just a major update. Not sure why that's made it on this list or not, but it seems to be something for everybody in in here as far as new marketplace applications and extensions.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be the new trend just because of how much easier they made it to deploy these. One of these that you might actually like here that I noticed, Brett, is the Todoist extension for Zoho Cliq. I know that you kind of like to play with that because it's a nice little simple task system, right? Where you can make little checklists inside of Todoist. Maybe if I were to click you something I was asking you to do and you could just snap that right onto your to-do list, that'd be a pretty nice little integration.
Yeah, that seems to be exactly what that does as well. But boy, you've got, Zoom, AI, Meeting Assistant, and Zoho Recruit, some Zoho Sugar CRM for Zoho projects. Some of these you just look at them, and you have to really click through to see actually who built them. If I'm clicking through on the Sugar CRM one, not by Zoho, developed by oaapps.xyz. So, you kind of look at these. I have a feeling a lot of these are very, very specific, and they're all being built using the new tools that Zoho's put out. And I think you're right. We're going to see a lot more of this, and that's a really, really good thing. The thing that will be interesting to me, though, is whether or not people are really able to monetize the Zoho marketplace. Because in the past, I've talked to developers who've spent a lot of time developing for the marketplace, but they really haven't been able to monetize it. Zoho users, have not been adopting in bulk here. So I think, getting people into the Zoho marketplace, having them spend time there, I think that's going to be key to getting the adoption of some of these apps and getting some revenue to these developers who are spending a lot of time developing these, because if the revenue is not there, the marketplace will die. And it's not just Zoho. This has happened with Salesforce and the App Exchange as well. There's so many apps in the App Exchange, and there's a real barrier to entry to get into the App Exchange, unlike the Zoho Marketplace. I mean, every developer I talked to said it costs them $50,000 to $100,000 just to get into the Salesforce App Exchange. And you're in an extremely crowded space. Once you get in there, there's no guarantee that you're going to get any visibility or any traction. It's not necessarily, nirvana once you're there and just people start coming in droves and buying your product. So, it's a common problem, and there's some really good stuff in the marketplace. There's some really bad stuff in there, but take a look, because if you've got a certain application or problem you're trying to solve, you might just find it there in the marketplace.
And what I think the challenge is too with Zoho's marketplace is Zoho is always developing, just always, always, always developing. So, if you were to put something out there in the marketplace, there's no guarantee that they're not working on that exact same extension internally to roll out.
Yep. And let's move on to Zoho Meetings. We both had a chuckle about this announcement that came out, but Zoho Meetings is now going to try to support what they're calling video conferencing, which is really multiple video feeds in your meeting. So rather than just having 2 people, you can now have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. I don't know if do they actually say how many they're planning on supporting in this.
I don't think
Doesn't really
they don't
say.
outline specifically how many. No, not quite. One of the
No,
interesting things, and one of the reasons we got to laugh about this is that they already support this in other tools, right? So like in Zoho
correct.
Cliq, right, which is not a video meeting tool, right? It's a chat tool and kind of an internal communication tool. They already
Right.
have this functionality, right? And we actually use it almost every day to do little team meetings. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, we don't, as we've mentioned before, we don't really use Zoho meetings a ton, right? It's missing a couple of the key features that we kind of need in a meeting software. So we didn't even really know that you couldn't do multiple video feeds in a Zoho meeting chat, or more than 2, I should say, for like a conference.
Yeah.
So good to see them roll
And
that
it's
out, but a
funny.
little surprising that it wasn't there.
Yeah, Avant Software, who they're a distributor, mostly they're working around with telephony companies. They actually did a virtual happy hour the other day, and I joined in on that. And I think they had somewhere around 100 people on there, and you got somewhere around 25 people. The screen was like a 5 by 5 grid, and you would just go page after page after page after page, and all the videos were live. All of them were in real time. All of them were syncing. So the ability to get an insane amount of people, I'm not sure that was really manageable to have that many people you'd want to, but you are seeing that kind of support, at least from Zoom. I don't know where GoToMeeting is on that or some of the others, but it's good to see Zoho adding that. And I have a feeling that somewhere in the next 12 to 18 months, we'll probably, be converts and end up over at Zoho Meeting. Like you said, there's just a kind of a few little things that they need to fix. All right, in other news, Zoho One has gotten an update to their overall security, user level security. This is kind of interesting. So in your security policies now, you can control web sessions. So this is how long a person can stay signed into their Zoho One account without being timed out. And you can do this on an app by app basis. So every time you sign into Zoho One or one of the apps, do you want them to have to exit out of that session after a set period of time? Or is there only maybe a number of sessions they can have simultaneously using different web browsers? I think it's kind of interesting because oftentimes we see this where you have clients that are logged in for a very, very long period of time. And you could actually have some security issues around that if you're changing profiles or you're changing various things and a person's logged in and they're in that persistent state where they haven't refreshed and none of those have taken over. So this is really going to allow you to regulate that and set your maximum session lifetime and set your how many browser instances they can have. So a nice little security feature that has been missing as far as I know across all the applications, and I think it's kind of nice that they added that in.
Yeah, that's kind of one that I would imagine will get more use at the enterprise level, right? Where you have a lot more people with hands in the cookie jar, right? Using Zoho, where you may want to institute a couple controls like that.
Absolutely. And then Zoho Sites got an improvement to its visual editor. So pretty much they're calling this the advanced visual editor, and it allows you to change the properties and elements throughout your entire website. So rather than just working on a page, you basically can make changes that are affected website wide. This is similar to deep theming that you would see inside of WordPress. And again, a much needed enhancement to Zoho Sites, which continues to really, really improve as just a great little content management system, and just getting better and better and better. I don't know, in a lot of cases if they can, there's so many, this tens of thousands of great little plugins that you have for WordPress. It's hard to compete with just the volume of things you can do in WordPress and integrations that you have with WordPress. But if you're looking for a simple down and dirty website and you're managing pretty much all of your business out of Zoho, this does it, because it does integrate with all things Zoho, that's for sure.
And moving on to our next bit of news here coming from Zoho Analytics. We have a couple kind of minor updates here around collaboration and sharing. So inside of Zoho Analytics, if you're looking at a report or a dashboard, you've always had the option to share that view, right? So if you're the admin and you want to share a specific report to just a user, you can do that. Or if you want to take that report or dashboard and actually make an embeddable link, to drop on a website or make a permalink that you can share externally. Right, each of those used to be a different button on the page. So it's kind of a whole long line of buttons up at the top of any report or dashboard. So what they've done, it's a minor update, but they've consolidated all those down into just a share button, which then has the options of which specific share you want to do. So it's a minor update, a little nicer from a UI perspective, just because when you look at a line of buttons and there's like 15 of them and they're all just these icons, right? Then you kind of have to learn which icon means what and remember to use those. But now it's just kind of one little menu to access any of those sharing features. Then they have another little minor update when it comes to mailing out reports. So when you actually set up either an email schedule or one-time email of a report, you can decide to add a specific filter to that report when you share it, right? So maybe you want to share a report about deals and you want to filter it and say, we're going to show the West Coast territory deals, and then you want to email that to the sales leadership on the West Coast. Well, one of the odd little bits of limitation that used to be there is that if you were sharing a filtered view, you had to set it up per user. So you couldn't share a filtered report via email to multiple people at once. You had to set up individual email shares. So now they basically made it so that you can, as you would expect, share to multiple people all at once, even if you're using a filter criteria on that emailed report.
All right, and let's move on to probably one more interesting stories of the week. Zoho is suing Freshworks. So if you're not familiar with Freshworks, just think of Zoho. They basically do exactly the same thing. A whole bunch of people about 9 years ago got up, pretty much walked across the street in Chennai and started up Freshworks, and they've been trying to compete ever since. Now, they have one main product that everybody knows, and that's Freshdesk, which is a very good help desk software. They are not FreshBooks, though. That is a completely different company that has nothing to do with them. But they do have a CRM and campaigns, and they on and on and on and on. They've got a whole suite of applications, very similar to Zoho's, and they were all founded by ex-Zoho people. And evidently, enough is enough. They stole some confidential Zoho information, and they've been poaching employees and customers. And Tyler, we've actually even had some experience with that as well, with them coming after us as a partner. And I think we had one of the more hysterical conversations we had, where the person who was pitching us said, referred to himself as Zoho. He kind of forgot that he was not working for Zoho anymore. He was working for Freshworks. But we passed on it. I'm sure they're a good company, but I didn't see this coming. I thought it has been awful amicable, because they sure have been stealing a lot of talent from Zoho.
Yeah, it's something we've noticed kind of over time, directly and indirectly, that there just seems to be this attempt to kind of pull talent over. And one of the key things that's kind of highlighted in the article here that's linked is that one of the big, I think, issues in the lawsuit is that Zoho has accused Freshworks of bringing some financial information with them from Zoho to be able to secure fundraising, right? So one of the things about Zoho is they've never taken any investment money, right? They're still a completely bootstrapped company. Well, Freshworks is not the same, right? So they've actually had a couple pretty successful fundraising rounds since their inception. And I think what Zoho is part of their accusation here is that, some of those guys at Freshworks knew the financial information about Zoho that isn't shared publicly, again, because they've not taken investment or gone public, right? And they're saying that they may have used some of that financial information showing the success of Zoho to pitch their investors, kind of saying, hey, we were part of this, look how well it's done, we've got a new company, and you should invest in us. And of course, these are just accusations and allegations, right? We'll let the courts decide who's right here, but it's definitely something that you could imagine happening, right? Just given that some of those guys that went over and started Freshworks, they're bigwigs at Zoho and high value employees and leaders at the company. So it's definitely believable that something like that could happen, but we won't know until all the chips are down.
Yeah, and we've just linked to one article in here that kind of covers all this. I did pulled this article for a particular reason, though. There are a ton of articles if you search this, but another interesting thing is Zoho has been taken to court by HubSpot, saying that HubSpot issued a cease and desist order against Zoho for having Marketing Hub as its suite of tools. And Zoho basically has said, nah, we're not going to have any of it. And instead of settling it, they're actually going to court and getting a jury trial on that. I don't think HubSpot's going to win that one. HubSpot Marketing Hub, I mean, look, Zoho is just being literal with this. This is our marketing hub. I don't think HubSpot can own the word hub. I don't know. It's kind of tough, but this article kind of covers both. And you can take a look at this, and there's just a million others if you want to search it. But we'll follow this one and see what happens. All right, Tyler, let us move on to our implementation of the week. What do we have, sir?
Yeah, so this week we set up a pretty nice automation, and this was actually for ourselves, so kind of a selfish implementation of the week. It's been one of those things that we've wanted to do for a while, but it keeps getting kicked. I'll take care of it next week, take care of it next week. And finally this week we decided it's enough, let's do this and take care of it. So basically what this is it's kind of a extension on the integration between Zoho Desk and Zoho CRM, right? And so of course the CRM is kind of the main place for a lot of businesses to track all of their customer and account data, right? And then with the default integration, you can sync over all of those customers and accounts directly into Desk, right? So that when an email comes in, we can identify based on the email, oh, this came from this customer, and links it to that customer in the CRM, kind of creates a nice little loop there. But one of the things that's always been missing is auto assignments of those tickets based on whoever owns that customer in the CRM, right? So for us, right, when one of my developers is the basically the account manager for a client, right, I actually will go through and will assign that deal and that account and those contacts to that developer, right? Because at the end of the day, they're the point person and they are the owner of that engagement. And one of the problems is that those owners don't automatically sync over to the tickets that are created by that customer, right? There's just nothing there in the default integration. And so what we did here is basically set up an integration where once a ticket is created, right, we pull the information about that contact in Desk, we match that contact against their equivalent inside of the CRM. And for us, we actually pull up kind of one more level and pull the account on file for that contact. And from there, we can basically assign, okay, who's the owner of this account, right? Who's the primary person on file that should be assigned this ticket because they are the person who owns that account, right? So we can actually pull that owner value from the CRM back into Desk and assign the ticket to that account owner from the CRM, right? So this is kind of a nice thing if you've got some account managers or salespeople using Desk, right? And you want to basically be able to automatically assign them tickets that should be assigned to them based on that ownership in the CRM. So it's definitely going to save us some time internally and speed things up because the quicker that someone gets assigned to a ticket, the quicker they know about it and the quicker they can act on it, right? So I'm thinking this is going to be a nice one for us and definitely one that's been a long time coming.
Yeah, and quick implementation too, right? So it took about 20, 30 minutes to spin this up, and I would imagine if we wanted to do it for a client, it'd probably be less than that now, right? 15, 20 minutes tops.
Yep, just about.
Very, very nice.
It's crazy what you
Excellent.
can do in Zoho Flow. It's just such a robust tool for basically tying everything together, right? I mean, Zoho's got all these default integrations, but every now and then they're, just one little thing is missing, right? But they give you all the tools because of the link that they make between Desk and the CRM to kind of query both sides and pull the data that you need.
So are you pulling this off of the owner of the account? Is that what we're going to do
Yes,
this
I'm
on?
pulling it off the owner of the account, but you could set it up if you don't really work at the account level. You could pull it off of the contacts. But
Okay.
just for us, we have
So,
a script where when I assign a deal over to someone, which is how we track our engagements, it'll actually
yep.
assign that contact and the account and actually all of the contacts on file for that account to that specific person. So really, I could pull it from anywhere, but I use the account just because it's the kind of top of the hierarchy.
And the nice thing about that is whenever we change the ownership of a particular project, so maybe we're on stage one of the project and one developer's doing it, they'd be working on that. But as soon then as that deal, if you will, or is assigned, or there's a new perhaps deal to do something, and maybe it's another developer's area of expertise, because of that script, it automatically changes those ownerships over, and now all of these tickets are going to be assigned to the right developer. So pretty nice.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, things we noticed. This is the crazy, wacky world we live in sometimes with Zoho. So this came out because, I'd never seen this before, but we have a client that wants to basically all their subscriptions, they want them to be associated with a contact, an individual, not an account. And it is possible to do such on the back end. You actually can go in and say this is an individual and do it there, but you can't do it upon the creation of the subscription. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's quite odd, to be totally honest with you. So basically, when you're looking at a customer or a subscription inside of Zoho subscriptions, and actually inside of Zoho Books as well, it has the same option. You can define them as a business or an individual, right? And this has some downstream effects that affect how it will actually sync into the CRM, right? So if John Smith signs up for a subscription, but he's defined as a business, it's going to write him into Books, and that'll be totally fine, right? You'll just see a customer with the name John Smith. But then when you sync that into the CRM, because he's assigned as a business, he's going to come into the CRM as an account. But if you're selling subscriptions to end users, right, which is what our client does, their software is not for a business, it's for a person, right? Then you really want them to come in as a contact, right? Because maybe you want to put them into a drip campaign, right? Or maybe you want to, just track them properly as what they are. John Smith is a person, he's not a business. But one of the challenges here is that what we found is that there's no way to say, hey, someone who signs up for this subscription, they're going to be an individual, right? We know that anyone signing up for this is not a business, they're an individual. There's no way to actually set that at the beginning. But the problem is, and this is a problem due to something that Zoho does well, which is kind of funny, is those syncs happen really fast. It does not take long for someone to sign up for a subscription, get written from subscriptions to Books, and then get written from Books to CRM. It's really, really fast. And so
It's
even
less
if
than
you
a
write a
minute, isn't
script,
it?
yeah, it's real quick. I mean, it's snappy, right? And so the challenge is, sure, you could write a script where anyone who comes in, we just swap them over to individual, but you don't know that every time that script is going to run faster than the sync will. So it's really this odd issue that they have the functionality to do it. You can define someone as an individual, but you can't do it until they've already been defined as a business, assuming that they're coming in from subscriptions. So
But we did
it's
determine
really
we can
tricky.
bulk update, correct? We did determine we
Yeah, and
could bulk update.
we can bulk update them. And one of the workarounds that Zoho did provide for us is that if you actually have them fill out a form, right, that would create their subscription, not billing yet, but create their subscription and customer record, then you could define them as a customer or as an individual, but then you would have to then trigger an email to go to them to put in their payment information to actually sign up for that subscription. But the problem is, and we all know, the more clicks that someone has to make, right, the more chance there is for drop off. So you really don't want to have someone sign up and not start paying until they get an email and click that link and then put in their payment information, right? You're going to have some amount of people that just never click that link in the email, right? So that solution, though it could work and maybe it'll be what we have to do here, it's far from optimal because you just will see drop off there, as people never end up clicking that link in the email. So if
This
any
is just
Zoho
one of
employees
those
are listening, let us know.
yes.
There's got to be something that we can do here to make this flow just a little bit better.
Just like having more than two people on video in Zoho meeting, this is a necessary thing. It kind of needs to be fixed at the subscription level, which is where it should be managed, right at the subscription level. How's it going to
Yeah,
create?
I would love it could be as simple as this, right? And again, any Zoho employees listening, feel free, take this
Product
idea.
level, product
In
level.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. In that page, when I'm signing up for a subscription, I should have a little option that says, are you a business or an individual, right? And if they select business, then we show a company name and make them fill that in. And if they show individual, we hide the company name and they don't have to fill that in. And then we can pipe them in the proper type, right? Because really this is just a customer type. So it's something that, I mean, I'd imagine it just has to be there, right? Because it has such a big effect on the way that this data ends up getting into the CRM, which is where, 90% of people are going to end up wanting to see this data.
Yeah. All righty, let's move on to our reads of the week. I went to Zoho this time. So Zoho actually put a blog out this week. How 8,000 of us at Zoho across 12 offices went remote in 3 days. So pretty interesting article here, breaking it down. The edict came down from Schrader that because of COVID-19, we're going to make the decision and we want everybody to be working from home. And they pulled it off. It took them 3 days, and you know what? It really wasn't that bad from our perspective. I think, Tyler. I think there were a few little glitches in there during that 3 days where maybe it was hard to get a hold of people and to get some stuff done, but pretty much they pulled it off. And of course, they pulled it off because they are 100% Zoho, which is 100% SaaS, and everything they do runs on that. Their development platform, pretty much everything. And so just by the fact that they, of course, eat their own dog food, and I think their product, as we've discussed before, their product roadmap is if we're using another third-party product by another company, we're going to build it ourselves anyway and make it available to our users. That's pretty much it. And so it's a nice little read.
I mean, though, that being said, you got to give some credit. I mean, for even though they're all in the cloud, right? Switching the whole way that your company functions when you have 8,000 employees spread across the world, that's quite an endeavor, right? Even with everything being cloud-based software, that's super, super difficult. I mean, even if you just think about the assets, right? Not everyone who, goes in and is, doing this development at Zoho may have a perfect computer set up at home for this, right? Or with a team of 8,000 people, there's a lot of collaboration happening, and people are probably used to being able to walk to someone else's office or workspace and, talk about something you're working on. So it's a super, super impressive thing to flip 8,000 people over to remote in 3 days. Again, even though they're using cloud software, that's just super impressive to be able to mobilize like that.
It is. And they talk about, it's funny, initially straight out of the gate, it was connect, Cliq, and mail. And we actually did a video earlier this week on Cliq because I think for remote tools, it's like our main tool for kind of collaboration and communication. And they talk about that as well. And then they talk about their virtual meetings and coffee breaks. And it's interesting to hear they talk about meeting showtime and Cliq. And I wonder if this major meeting update came out of the fact that now they're all remote and they're on meeting, and they probably want to they need that conference call feature in meeting as well. I have a feeling that's why this has been pushed to the forefront.
Would
But a
not
good
surprise me one
article, and yeah, it's a lengthy article, really well done, and I would suggest if you get a chance, go ahead and take a look at that. And then over at Zenatta, we've got a couple of things. So we on the new posts, new videos, we've got a new post, 5 advanced tips for Zoho CRM experts. Take a look at that. We've got some pretty nice things in there that are covered by our writers. Automate. We talk about workflows and going beyond workflows to blueprints, creating some custom fields, setting up Zoho CRM as your main data hub with all those custom fields, integrating other applications through Zapier and how to do some basic zaps, and what we talk about over and over again on kind of keeping your data clean and valid. So some really nice tips in there. If you do get a chance, take a look at that article. And then 3 new videos this week. 2 of them, which we're starting to do now when we do the CRM Zen Show. There is a video portion of this which goes on website. The whole show is on YouTube, And then we'll do things like an application of the week, an implementation of the week, a product of the week, those kind of things. And we're basically breaking those out into separate videos as well. So if all your interests really want to kind of get to that point, like, hey, what was that implementation of the week? You can go check that out as well. So 3 new videos went up this week. So we did an application overview on Soapbox, which we talked about last week. And then Tyler and I did an extremely painful live demo of how Cliq works. We recorded it twice. And basically, I think we were near about to kill each other in exasperation, just threw up our hands. But hey, check it out. It's humorous and entertaining in its own right. We should put the unedited version up sometime. I think that would be great. And then we did Tyler's implementation of the week was this really cool thing around activities. In activities, you've got calls, you have tasks, and you have events. And the due dates on those are actually all held in 3 distinct separate fields. So if you wanted to know, if you had, let's say, all 3 of those type of activities for a particular client, and you want to know what that next activity was, what's the next thing I have to do with that client, and you want to be able to sort on all of your activities across all your clients, say, what's my next activity? This is a really cool way of getting that done. And so we have a video up on that as well. And then over and above that, we are really starting to build out our resource library. And we've talked about this before, but if you go to resources, which is on the main menu on the top of our page, we have just got an entire array of various things that we're building out. And these aren't necessarily from us. So, as we go through the web and we come across different things like, for Marketing Hub, understanding journeys and a Marketing Hub planner and getting started. So there's some great content that Zoho has produced, usually in PDF form, or there's an article or whatever. We're going to go ahead and kind of add this into our overall resource library for you. So this week, we added Getting Started with Zoho Campaigns, Advanced Zoho Campaigns Guide, Understanding Journeys in Marketing Hub, a Marketing Hub Planner, Getting Started with Zoho Marketing Hub, Zoho Assist Implementation Guide, and Getting Started with Zoho Flow. So we're going to keep building this up. So you kind of have this one-stop shop. You can go choose the product you're interested in, read articles, watch videos, look at product guides. We're trying to get them all in one space. And we think it's going to be useful for you and probably for us at the end of the day as well. All right, let's move on to our application of the week. Again, I'm kind of going back here a little bit. We talked about this one over 2 years ago. It's called Loom. And Tyler, this is something we use on a daily basis. And it basically is a very quick way for you to make videos, screen videos, and share that you can present to somebody. So if you wanted to show them how to do something, you can just do a quick down and dirty video and share it and send it, and it takes just a moment to do so. If I look at if you're watching the video of this right now, I'm kind of on the Zenatta website, and there's 2 ways of doing this. You actually have a Chrome plugin, and if you click on that plugin, it's just going to come up and say, do you want to record the full desktop? Do you only want to record the current tab? Do you want to do screen only? Do you want to do screen and camera? Do you want to do camera only? So you just want to make a video of you talking into the screen. It's very, very simple. Then you just hit start recording. And once you hit start recording, it's going to give you a little bit of a countdown on there. And you just basically can go through, scroll around, talk about what you want to talk about, clip, show the people exactly what you want to do and what you're trying to explain to them. When you're done, you just go ahead and you click that the video is finished, and that's it. It immediately takes you to another tab. You can trim the video, make some changes to it if you want. You can edit it, you can rename it, and then you can just quickly click a little share button, and it'll give you a link that you can go ahead and share, and you can copy that link and go ahead and send that off to the person you were talking to. It couldn't be easier. I don't think we could survive without it. I know our clients love it. It's fantastic.
You know what they say, right? A picture says 1,000 words, so video must say 1,000,000. And yeah, I mean, we use this just so regularly because there's so many times where, you want to explain a quick part of an implementation that we do to someone, right? So they can have it on file and show it to their team. And, 3 clicks and you're recording a video and you can post it. to specific folders as well, and provide people links to folders so they have all of their client videos that we've ever made for them all in one place. I mean, it's well designed. It seems like they really thought of every little thing you may want to do with this and put it together just so nicely.
And it's really not that expensive either. I don't remember the overall pricing on it, but I want to say less than $50 a year. It's just it's an inexpensive tool. It's just fantastic. Your teams can use it. Anyway, we can't say enough about it. It's something we use multiple times a day. And well, we're taking a look. So if you need something like that, check out loom.com, Loom.com. Links in the show notes. All righty, let us move on now to our tip and trick of the week. This came up last week. This could have been an implementation, but it's a rather simple thing. And this was how to send text messages out of Zoho campaigns using Twilio. So Twilio seems to be what a lot of people are using. And we've been talking about this for a while, and it's kind of neat because if you've got a campaign going out, let's say you're doing a drip campaign. Matter of fact, we're going to do this for our upcoming webinar. So we're doing a webinar on the last Tuesday of this month, which is overview and best practices for analytics. This is kind of in our ongoing monthly series. And there's going to be a series of emails that go out to our mailing list that say, please click here to sign up. Please click here to sign up. And then the day of, we're going to do a text message, and the text message will say, just a reminder, the webinar is about to start in an hour. Click here to sign up or to go watch it. And so you can do those kind of things in campaigns now with this whole SMS function. And so we hadn't really set it up using Twilio before, and we went in to do this, and we ran into some interesting little problems with it. And so the key thing that you want to do is you're going to have to set up a couple of little variables. And right now, for the audience that's listening, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick little video tutorial on this. So there are a couple of things you need to do if you want to send a campaign out using SMS, using Twilio, and I think this is going to be across the board. Number one, most likely, when you've done your synchronization or you set up your list, what you haven't done is pull in the person's, you haven't pulled in their mobile phone number, and you haven't pulled in the country that they're in. So you're going to have to go into all of your synchronizations, and a lot of times you just got last name and email. You may have company name if you're doing some tricky things. Maybe you've got their first name, their last name, their company, and their email. Most likely that's gonna be it for most mailing lists that you're doing. But in order to send out a text message, you're gonna have to put the mobile number in, and then mailing country is also required, and you're gonna map that to the country field inside of campaigns. And then when you do your campaign and you're doing your SMS campaign, it's pretty straightforward. It's going to ask you to select your gateway. So in this case, you'll have Twilio set up, and you'll go ahead and you'll select your Twilio gateway. And then you're going to want to go ahead and you're going to want to configure your content. And this is super nice because once you lay all this out, you can use spaces, you can use emojis, you can use all sorts of things in there. It's just nice, and it gives you actually a real view of what it's going to look like once you've got your content in there. And then you're going to go ahead and add your recipients. So I'm just going to drop in this newsletter mailing list here. And the key thing here to kind of talk about all this is this configure fields. Now you have to choose a field, and you have to choose country, and you have to choose the phone that you're going to choose to send it to. But here's where it gets a little interesting. For the country, what Twilio is looking for is the country code. So the United States is 1. So if you, the old days, you dial 1 and area code and the number. You don't really do that anymore. But internationally, to use most VoIP services, you have to put the number plus in there. So it's +1. And so what you're trying to do is get +1 in there. So the way Zoho's looking at that is they are actually doing a lookup of the country and putting it in. So it has to be, if you're in the United States spelled out. Uppercase U, uppercase S, lowercase other letters. We recommend that you actually, rather than have an open field country area in your CRM, and whether it's in a contact or a lead, that you actually create a pick list, and these actually exist inside of the CRM. You can say, hey, I want a predefined pick list and I want it to have all the countries in the world in there. And this is going to give you that exact formatting you need when setting this up. But this is kind of the big gotcha, is this country field here. You cannot create a field called country code and put your +1 in there, your +44, or whatever you want to put in. That won't work. We know, we tried it. So that's kind of what you need to do here. It seems a lot, it's very, very simple at the end of the day, but I think this can really, really trip people up. That whole thing around, it's looking for the actual name of the country in order to properly enable that. So anyway, so that's pretty much all there is to setting up your gateway to send out your SMS messages using Zoho campaigns. Hopefully you found this useful. All righty, Tyler, and that is a wrap. If you've got questions or comments, be sure to send them over to us at info@zenatta.com, or you can just head over to zenatta.com and drop us a line.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. You can follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube, where we'll be posting tons and tons of video content every week. We will see you next Monday.